All right, season divide, May 13th. First hardcore seasonal server. Woo. I hope the PvEers enjoy it. I'm just sad the PvP server is going away. Ocean themed Coral Divide map and an all new Capture the Flag mode. I think the Capture the Flag shit is fire, is all I gotta say on that. Coral Divide, much overdue, but like the new game mode. Like the fact that they're doing the new. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Along with 7 powerful artifacts and weekly world boss encounters. Ooh, that's interesting to me. Because now they're talking about timers that guilds can plan around. This update brings major combat refinements and fresh rewards to the tournament short. And I want to be clear, like technically this works for like instance content like the worm and Gorgon and whatnot, but I'm talking about like a boss that like you can fight over as a PvP company. This is why I miss the PvP servers. I think like the events were just so much more fun with the PvPvE element of it, but I'll stop yapping about that. We'll get to talk about some new powerful artifacts too. That should be cool. 2 hour downtime. I would say probably expect like 3 hours. I'm gonna be real here. If they actually finish this at 7 a.m. PT, I would be pleasantly surprised. It's not a dig at their team. It's just with updates historically, season wise, it does take a little bit longer on that first push. They're getting better about it. They're getting better about it, though. All right. During season 8, we'll host a number of limited time preview events. These events feature new PvP game modes and new maps for existing PvP modes. The exact dates for these preview events will be shared throughout the season. Capture the Flag, fantastic. Plays fantastic. I'm sure of it. With the combat style of this game, oh man. The exciting new mode pits 2 teams of 10 players against each other in a fast paced fight to control the team's flag. Score as many captures as you can in the limited time to win. Power-ups and jump pads in this mode make it feel more competitive and unlike any other PvP mode in the game. I wouldn't use the word competitive here because these are random effects, essentially. Even if it's at the same location, this doesn't really impact any sort of like competitive energy. I think the jump pads add some level because like the better you are with the jump pads, the easier it is to control your movement, the better you are as a player. But competitive is not the word I would go for. The gameplay probably feels more versatile, has probably higher highs and less lows. We look forward to sharing all the details about this new mode before our test event, so stay tuned. And I think they released a video, so we'll go over that as well. 3v3 arena map. We'll also preview our latest offering for 3v3 arenas. Ooh, our largest arena to date, set in an ancient temple grove. The death fog closes in sooner in this map, causing an early range advantage to quickly become a melee advantage. I wish they had really committed to this, and instead of it being a 3v3, it became a 3v3v3 type of arena experience. I think that would have a really cool dynamic, especially to arena as a whole. But this is more about patch notes than what they should be doing, right? Outpost Rush. Hey, look, 2 major additions. Ooh, a bare bones mode. I have huge interest in this, but we'll talk about this shortly. And Coral Divide map. Coral Divide brings vertical combat, tactical flanking to an ocean themed arena. That's factual. It's a really solidly designed map, and makes it so matches just overall are either much closer or if it's an absolute stomp, it actually like ends quickly. There is none of those in between where like your team is just powerful enough to hold them off, but not powerful enough to actually have a fighting chance. Outpost Rush Barebones' new spin on our popular game mode attempts to level the playing field completely. In this version, all gear perks are disabled and everyone is bumped up to max gear score. If artifacts are enabled, this is fantastic. But I already see the problem here where somebody goes into this game mode with featherweight and then suddenly they're heavy armor and they're asking why. What did I do wrong here? So I really hope they take their time with this and make sure this actually works the right way. Coral Divide, Outpost Rush map makes its permanent debut this season. This is great. I hope they make it so like it's just the only map for quite a while before they try and mix it in. Fight for control in a vibrant ocean. Yeah. I'm not reading the same sentence over and over. Yeah, sweet. This map will be the only available map for an extended period at the beginning of the season. Also made the following changes. They've updated the gates to provide separate interact points for builders that are now limited to one repair at a time. I think that is huge in general. I hope that stays the case for the other map as well. Updated Baroness's scoring lock to be 1 minute for the winning team and up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the losing team. Fantastic change here. This is the type of rubber band mechanics that makes games much closer than they may seem. Especially like imagine when you steal the Baron, right? When it's like a 500 to 800 game versus them getting the Baron at 800 already just winning more, you know? Each player now starts with 50 Azoth to prepare before the battle begins. This is huge because now you can get a stack of Battle Bread, a stack of Zephyr Cakes, and then still also get 3 cleanse pots, or just flat out get 6 cleanse pots if you truly want a quote unquote close to war experience in OPRs. That's huge. I think that's a very smart decision. I'm glad they're listening to some of the feedback that the player base has given. I know I've yapped about that a couple times. Decreased time to set fuse for kegs. I don't think people are ready for this one. I think this is actually fucking huge. Just flat out. Bulwarks requiring no resources to place. Thank God they listen. I try to play around with Bulwarks personally, but every single time I'd put it up and then I'd walk away right as I finished it, but people are shooting through it and are damaging it. And so then I have to go back to it and I gotta put parts in it. And if it doesn't have 4 out of 4 and you're out of the area, it never built. So like the bulwarks were unusable. Whereas like if I have a bulwark and I'm pushing through that door, I may put one right outside so that people can walk through that door freely. Or hey, there's a bunch of range out there. Let me put that blockade up and make it so they have to come close to the door in order to actually damage inside. Like that's huge. Players now respawn in waves. I think this is pretty big too. A lot of people, from what I've seen in OPRs, it'll be like these onesies and twosies coming back. It being in waves is huge in my opinion. Reduce the invincibility timer to 10 seconds, but it now starts when leaving the base instead of on spawn. What a great change here, because now, especially with the wave mechanic, now it hits a point where everybody's out, everybody spawns at the same time, pushes out the gate, and now you can have a targeted response. And so like it's you get less advantage from spawn camping a gate, basically. Added a new option to display the raid UI for monitoring the state of your full OPR team. I think this is huge because if they are using the raid UI for OPRs, then it should not be a huge jump to support full 20-man queues. I know for a fact that if I could queue as a 20-man in OPR with my company and fight other people who are queued as 20-mans for OPR, or at least like 10s and 10s at the absolute minimum for organization, that would be huge for PvP communities, just flat out. So like I'm really happy to see these small systematic changes here. Mode changes in our original OPR map. I didn't even know that was the name of the island. Nothenios? Yeah, somebody put that in a Google Translate. Figure out how that's said. Soul Outpost has been redesigned to provide new ways to capture and defend the center of the map. New buildable and destructible platforms have been added as an alternate way to breach the now fortified Soul Outpost. I'm very excited to see this. Like the fact that they're adding this and then also disabling the map is kind of depressing personally, but we'll see. Hourly map rotations. This is huge. This is just like the what game is it? It's a FPS battle royale futuristic. How's his name forgetting? Apex. Yeah, Apex. Like how they rotate the map so that you're just constantly getting a different cycle. It's more fresh that way. I think that's huge. The hourly rotation is much better in my opinion. This applying to 3v3s initially, it makes sense. They want people to experience the new map, but now I'm kind of sad I don't get to play this new Sun change because I think Sun was the biggest problem with the old map. All right, seasonal server. I guess we'll go over this. I personally am not really looking forward to this, so I apologize if I'm a little bit more pessimistic than others. I prefer seasonal servers. While yes, you have a twist, make sure that twist is supported by PvE and PvP. But yeah, hey, brave adventurers, test your mettle in our first hardcore seasonal experience coming in June, where death has consequences, but the rewards are legendary. Expedited experience, streamlined leveling process that will take players a few hours. I'm glad they're at least listening to that feedback from the PvP server. The better you know the game, the faster you will progress. Factual and true. Replace main story quests with new quests that are focused on exposing players to the server's progression and crafting loop. Better. Created quicker access to endgame gear, crafting, and artifacts. Crafting changes, accelerating crafting progression, and simplified crafting requirements probably makes it a lot cheaper to craft things in general. Streamlined access to fully unlocked artifacts. I believe, if I am reading this correctly, it's probably going to be you equip it and it immediately unlocks everything. Streamlined access to high end materials. I would assume just drop off the bottom part of it. Just make it so I literally have to gather mithril, and I can make mithril bars to make things instead of having to do this whole combination bullshit. And I think you'd really unlock a lot of the crafting for this. So my guess is that's probably how they're gonna do it. Death mechanics updated death to remove access to set 3 journey rewards. You now have to delete and restart your character if you want to regain access. I respect the fact that they are sticking to their guns on this. A lot of games, when I give participation trophies, are like, oh, I can just make it so my character is no longer dead, or like, hey, I'm just reviving my character with some sort of process, usually a monetary one in some games. And like that just cheapens the reward, because now it's not a hardcore game. It's your normal game but with a paywall to playing. So like I'm really glad that they went with that direction. Updated content to be more accessible. Players will now receive plus 25 to all attributes up to 5 times every death. So this means that one player in your group who knows that they're not going to get this, they can just die 5 times super early, and then they'll be the carry to get everybody else. So like they'll be the tank, they'll be the one that like is most likely to die, right? While everybody else kind of uses them as a shield. I don't know. I think that provides that lame duck in the back of the group an opportunity to help the group still complete it. So I think that's a good system regardless. I'm a little sad that it's not full hardcore, but we both know, or we all know, that if this was true hardcore, this server wouldn't even like you'd have like a small 10 group that would log on to do it, but it'd be like it was a PTR server or something, and people were only logging on to test content or something. All right, rewards, cosmetics. Who would have guessed? Special crafting materials for main servers with the ability to craft S, Season 7, or previous artifact gear. So that's interesting to me, especially if you're somebody who has never completed Gorgon, wants to have Azoth attuned pants, can't get a group for Glacial Tarn, or not Glacial Tarn, what is the name of the fucking ice dungeon? Like the 10-man raid? Why she literally complains about doing it? Oh, Tempest. It's the one that
Winter
Tempest
Fort.
Fury, Winter Forge. That's the word. Thank you. Winter Forge runs and whatnot. Like this is the way you can get those artifacts. Tier 3 trophy crafting materials. Interesting. I mean, sure. All above rewards are claimable on one character of your choice on a standard or legacy world, but will not be claimable on a seasonal character. Interesting. You will not be able to keep this character at the close of the seasonal world, but journey rewards will carry over to main character of your choice. I think this is a smart choice. So, like, this, I guess, is kind of their happy middle ground between, hey, we
Are you
don't want
streaming?
seasonals. I'm not streaming, I'm recording right now.
Cool.
This is like that happy middle ground between, hey, I don't want to split up our player base, but I want them to have something they can go off and do and make sure the game stays fresh in the middle of the season. I'm not gonna go over all of the cosmetics. Look at them, figure out what you like. I've basically locked in my outfit shy of something absolutely amazing coming out. Artifacts, that's what I care about. Whether you aim to sprint across the battlefield, outlast your foes, or sack their strength with forbidden magic, these gear pieces unlock new tactical layers for every playstyle. Old Crown, okay, a medium helmet, plus 10 to all attributes, and comes with bonus gem functionality. I believe it comes with 3 gems total, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this was probably going to replace Azoth Platoon Pants in a lot of the PvE builds. I don't really see it impacting the PvP builds too much, just because double conditioning exists now. So like you can run like a slash conditioning and a fire conditioning, right? On the same piece of gear, and that's a 5% of both. So that would be more than 2 gems. And it's not an artifact, so I could be wearing a different artifact. The fact that it's medium as well locks this out from tank builds primarily. So I probably would see this like purely PvE, maybe maybe on some sort of like light armor player or medium armor player that was trying to be tankier than just a medium armor gamer. But I still think there's way better artifacts for that from a PvP perspective. Relentless, Tower Shield, Team Armor, Aura, and Enhanced Healing. All right, so as we're coming fresh off of Sklavia, I can speak to this. This is probably the Shield of Altruism, um, where what happens is I lower my armor by 25%. I give everyone around me a 50% armor aura, and I also get 25% increased healing to myself. If that's the case, I hope that they still treat this the same way they treated it on Sklavia, where even if you both have the shield up, you don't buff each other. Like by having the buff that gives you the aura, you cannot receive the buff from someone else using it. Um, I think there's some value in like kind of either way, but like I think people are already too tanky as it is. That and the fact that this is now not being dropped on death makes this so powerful. The fact that it's taking up an artifact spot, maybe it won't be as powerful, and on top of that, it's not interacting with Swarm Gear like it was before. So this means that whatever tank is using this is probably not going to be your main tank. You're probably going to have your Flail IGs running this, or you're running additional tanks in general running this, maybe in like Group 8, for example, with some of your disruptors. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that grows. Vampire Vestments, Lifesteal, and Mana Synergy. I mean, interesting.
Bad.
Don't know what that one does, but I mean the fact that it's a light chest to begin with, like unless you're running a heavy or a medium build with a light chest, I don't really see it being used because featherweight exists, right? Like it has to be really powerful to warrant usage otherwise. Wit, sword, increased threat and damage mitigation on crits. I think this is hilarious and I love the fact they're going with this because to me, I'm immediately thinking about builds, right? Where like a Void Blade tank, right? Running fucking magnetic gauntlets to guarantee my crit rate with that sword, and then I have the Void Gauntlet on the back bar. And so when I'm using the Void Blade and I'm critting, I'm just constantly taunting. That sounds like such a fun thematic tanking experience. I'm sorry to all the people who have to deal with Scream tanks, but you're welcome. Chaos Blunderbuss launches enemies with Fury Blast shots. From what I saw of some footage today, it launches it pretty far, just like the Yeaterson. That shit is crazy. And if so, I think that's going to open up wars a little bit to non-standard strategies and may make Unmoved worth using. We'll see. I think it's big brain that I think it's kind of dumb actually that they introduced Unmoved before they introduced all these artifacts with huge displacement effects because this could have been an easy PR win instead of a why do I have these? These are useless to oh my god, thank God they released this artifact. And it would have been fantastic. Bad
If you want
design
to put
decision, in my
comments
opinion.
in the channel's text.
Oh, heard. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could this old crown replace the? Yeah, I actually said that, St. Chris. It could replace the
Okay.
Attune leather pants. I actually assume it will for PVE. The fact that it's a medium helmet, especially, makes it a lot more accessible to like the sword and shield, light armor build as well. With the worm heavy tank gear is going to be best. Yeah, I think so as well. It's gonna be wild. Um, Yeah, we'll see what other changes they have in here, though. Runic Greaves, speed boost after using Heart Runes. I highly doubt this is going to get any use at all. Unless I'm literally running as fast as my Blunderbuss build runs. And it's like for like 10 seconds or something, there's no shot that I'm going to be running that as a Heart Rune. Like, maybe if you were a light armor assassin trying to, like, zoom at somebody, but even then, like, I guess it'd be good as for healers if featherweight didn't exist and or like you didn't need featherweight for it, but you couldn't wear it otherwise. Like I don't really know what they thought they were doing with this one, to be honest. Lich gloves, light hands, and power stacking with ability usage. If I remember correctly, this is the one where it's like if I use an ability, my next basic attack will do more damage, and then if I use a basic attack, my next ability will do a burst of damage. But if you run out of stacks, they go on cooldown for a certain amount of time. Interesting design decision, in my opinion, but honestly, we'll have to see how they go. Once again, like it's damage items, damage artifacts are choked out of the space by featherweight. So we'll see. Damn, combat adjustments. This is huge. Combat evolves with the introduction of 5 new survival potions and refined targeting mechanics. Please, God, let these be the fucking target lock changes I want them to be. Please, please, please. New options include quick use health shots. That's funny. And tactical choices like shield and grit potions, expanding strategic options in combat. And they really fucked up and not just. They should have made, instead of it being health shots, just make it so like tier 2 potions were the health shots. It would have been that simple. And then, oh look, now every potion has a use and every potion gets bought. That with that one simple fix, who would have guessed? And tactical choices like shield and grit potions, expanding strategic options in combat. If shield potions work like I have a huge shield on usage, and then I pop it right before I go into battle, I think it'd have value. But if I have to pop a potion in the middle of a fight, the usability of that is just goes out the window. Grit potions is interesting to me because I could imagine certain weapons right now are very limited by the fact that they don't really provide grit with the use of like with the abilities and left clicks that they have based off the stat usage that they have, right? So, and what I mean by that, right, is like there are weapons that can run 300 con and still be useful. There are some weapons that have to run like very, very low amounts of con in order to work as a concept. So those builds, being able to unlock the ability to even just left click with grit, means that they don't have to worry about being staggered, which is pretty huge. I don't expect grit pots to really matter though, to be honest with you. I think they, depending on like the uptime of it, it may make Grit Ward a lot more powerful. But Grit Ward's been in a bad place since the change to not all of lights being Grit Ward. Like uninterruptible though has a lot of potential in my opinion. Um, Lifesteal potion increases the power of all lifesteal effects for the duration. This shit would have to literally like triple my fucking or my life stealing for it this to matter in my opinion. Um, like if this is a 30% increase on already pitiful lifesteal, like you have to run Blood Drinker, life stealing in your weapon. Blood Drinker increases the amount of life stealing you get from other sources. Um, just to have the semblance of a heal, and even then, your damage is so gimped by doing that. So I'd be surprised if either of these two potions matter. I can see the shield potion mattering. I can see the health shot potion mattering, but to be honest with you, the current health potion implementation, while great, I'm not complaining about it by any means. Like this just feels like another noob trap, and where you should still be popping regen pots more than you're popping these. Burst regen potion, I still think like I've yet to see anything that takes regen potions off of my bar. Simply put, like I can see one of these taking health pots off my bar if it doesn't, like if grit potion doesn't use the same cooldown as a regen or health potion. I could see it taking my health potion spot, to be honest. Yeah, grit pot being good for light PvE tanks would be great too. But I mean, I could imagine like trying to benefit off of a mighty gavel. Well, I mean, it has its own grit now. I don't know. I'd have to. I'm gonna think on that. I know there's definitely some things that could benefit from grit. Like I think as a healer, being able to guarantee you're about to get a heal off is pretty powerful. It's one of the best uses of stone form. Having that in a potion form could be pretty powerful. It has Sinus Hatchet, another great example where if I'm going, I could walk into a clump and at least Raging Torrent before I die in 2 seconds. All right, target lock and aim assist. This is what I want to talk about. All right, target lock and aim assist were added primarily to assist controller players to compete with mouse and keyboard aiming. When combined, they made aiming almost completely unnecessary. This is factual and based. I mean, there were people that were watching this stream out of rage because I just played with the blunderbuss aim lock because I was so fucking irritated to dying to people running these sorts of builds that I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to be the problem. Hello, it's me. I'm the problem. Reduce the amount of aim assist you receive when locked onto enemy players on controller, making it harder to hit moving targets. This is good, removing some of the training wheels on controller players, but have also tuned aim assist and aim friction to work better with controllers outside of the target lock. I think this is still good because ultimately the game should not require target lock to work. If you have to give more aim assist just in the natural game, that like you can easily like break aim lock like you do in Call of Duty, for example, that's A-okay. The goal was for target lock to still be useful in certain situations, like skill usage, for example. But players must now manage it more actively since it isn't as simple as just locking on a target and expecting everything to hit. That's fantastic. I think, like, once again, it having its uses where it's like for certain ability styles, I want to use target lock. It might not hit every time if somebody's smart and dodges right, but for the most part, like certain abilities benefiting from that is still good for the game. It helps newer players learn how to play the game. Updated enemy target lock on controller to reduce accuracy versus moving targets. This is huge. If you're moving and you're making patterns, like that should be great. To compensate, aim friction and aim assist was returned to improve accuracy when aiming with controller outside of target lock. That means that there's gonna be a lot more like if they're at least following you as you're stepping past them, they may actually follow if it's fast enough. I don't make New World see my keyboard as a control. Bad, St. Chris, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who do that. Updated enemy target lock on controller to reduce accuracy versus moving targets. To compensate, aim friction and aim assist was returned to improve accuracy when aiming with controller outside of target lock. Yeah, please push people to stop using target lock. This is great. Updated so that passing behind... This is huge right here. Updated so that passing behind your locked target will now break target lock. This also applies when your target passes behind you. This is massive. This gives you a direction to outplay both as the person target locking and the person being target locked against. Because if somebody's close enough and I know they're about to do that, I may just turn off target lock, follow them, and immediately target lock right as they pass me, right? Or me being able to step past somebody and still make them have to use more of their brain power just to aim than they're expecting to, cause them to trip up there. Fixed an issue where targeting dummies would target their feet. Updated it so that target lock now breaks after after entering aim down sights. This is huge. None of this bullshit ass bow players who think they're good because they hold you on aim lock and they just right click and just... I don't want none of that shit. Same thing for muskets, which, to be fair, muskets out of a certain range is a projectile, so it doesn't really get to benefit from that nearly as much. But people still do that. Like, if somebody's staying still or they're running in a straight line, it's a pretty easy hit still. Fix an issue where pressing L would cancel target lock. That sounds like a debug step got into the main branch, I guess, but interesting. All right, new gems. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay. Jade gems are disease. Turquoise gems are armor pen. New weapon and armor perks provide creative ways to chain attack, survive conditions, and enhance movement. This is fantastic. I'm already excited. Man, is this the patch? Is this the patch that brings back like 20% of our player base at least? Maybe? We'll see. Let's see. Jade gem perks. Plagued. Basic attacks inflict a stack of disease, reducing the target's incoming healing by 2.5% and outgoing by 1.25% per stack for 3 seconds. Max 10 stacks. I think this is only going to be good for light attack based or like fast attacking weapons like the sword, the rapier, the hatchet. Like, I don't... Maybe the blunderbuss as well, but I don't really see this being used otherwise. Now, if this is something that as a group we can stack, I could 100% see every bruiser running plagued on their weapon. If like, hey, 10 people hit a person, now they're max plagued. Ooh, good point, Aura Rising. Fire Staff AoE basic attacks. If that makes that viable, that's crazy, because that with a grip potion means I can sit on the edge of point and just heavy attack into the clump, right? Oh, musket pen shots, also a great example. Fair point there, Chris. That might actually give a solo musket an opportunity to be slotted if it is good enough. Especially if that meant I did not have to run the gem on anyone else. Plagued Ward, 6.2%, minus 6.2% disease duration per armor or trinket that has this gem slotted. So I'm conflicted. The fact that they've made most Plagued just refresh, like even if you were to run 10 of these gems, that's 62% reduced duration. Well, I mean, the fact that you could stack Invigorated with this as well. I think Invigorated is what, 15%. A trinket is a piece of jewelry. So I think Invigorated is like 15%. So if I would need 3 stacks, or I could run Jin's Head Wrap for 20 plus the 15 would be 35. So then I'd only have to run 1 more Invigorated. So I'd run 2 Invigorated in Jin, or I'd have to run 4 Invigorated. That would be 60. So I'd still only I really only need to run 2 Invigorated or a Jin Wrap. And if I in theory ran 10 Plagued Wards, at that point I would be max. But like I don't really see this getting used. I'm just gonna be honest here. If this reduced the potency, that would be valuable. But this doesn't reduce the potency. This reduces the duration, and the duration can be refreshed. What's the point? I like the attack. I think this kind of just falls flat. Turquoise gem perks, penetrating 12% armor pen. I could see this maybe on the point, but like we'd have to see the numbers. At what point of armor does this matter? Hardened, 3% physical and elemental armor perk per armor or trinket that has this gem slotted. So I'd have to see the numbers on what 3% physical armor would equalize to. Because like with the fact that armor has diminishing returns, I don't really see a situation where this ever gets slotted. So I'm gonna be honest, the turquoise gem as a whole kind of seems whack. Nah, I don't think turquoises are gonna replace the armor set at all. I think you cannot beat flat damage mitigation. Just flat out, like mitigation will always be better. Attack perks, Sundering Stacks. Attacks inflict a stack of 4% rend, each stack lasting 6 seconds, max 5 stacks. Found on main hand weapons. I'm not sure what main hand weapons means. Maybe melee weapons only, I think. Put the chat GPT down and put the right notes, please. Attacks inflict a stack of 4% rend. So I would assume that you could max out to 20% rend, and each stack has its own individual length of time. Just because they've been doing that with like Burninator, for example. If this applies to Meteor and Ice Storm, normally I would assume that this is probably basic attacks. I would be very surprised if this was abilities. Just flat out. They're usually pretty good about at least stating that. We'll see what it says in game. But I would expect Sundering Stacks to be basic attacks. Alternating enchantment. Hitting with a basic attack will increase the base damage of the next ability hit within 5 seconds by 10%. And a hitting with an ability will increase the basic damage of the next basic attack by 10%. Found on melee weapons. I think this is going to be huge for good players. I think this is going to be a dead perk for bad players, just flat out. We'll see. Vital synergy, and the reason. Let me back up. And the reason I say that is, good players will make a point to use attacks between their abilities. Bad players will just spam buttons on their keyboard, knock all 3 abilities, and then basic attack once. And so if you're really only getting this on one basic attack, you're not getting the value from this that you could be getting. And so it ends up being a dead perk. It's like a shirking perk. If you never dodged through an ability, you never actually had that perk. Vital synergy. While health is below 50%, gain 20% stamina regenerate. I think that's pretty cool. While stamina is below 50%, incoming healing is increased by 20%. Found on chest piece. I think this is going to be an instant slot for every player on point. Like, if you're running Dark Plate, this is what's going on your Dark Plate. And I think it's interesting that they introduced Authority Reflection on chest and gloves. So anybody who put it on their chest is now going to be regretting that, because this is going to be an instant slot, in my opinion, on the chess piece, especially on point. Increased incoming healing, I cannot rave more about. It can be the difference between living and dying, 100%. Hardcore parkour, gain 18% haste for 5 seconds after triggering a traversal action found on footwear. I don't actually hate this, to be honest with you. We'll see. We'll see, to be honest. I think it's too situational, really. The fact that it doesn't have a cooldown is nice. But this with other haste may be a little overkill, to be honest. Hot trash inside War for sure, but I'm talking like in general in PvP. Stop, drop, and roll. Dodging will reduce the current duration of all burn damage over time effects on you by 25%. Found on amulets. That is crazy. That doesn't matter because burns refresh themselves. I love the thought process here, but instead you should have just made it so it completely removed all dots. Oh wait, there's a perk for this. All dots you have on you with like a 10-second cooldown. Oh wait, maybe you should have just taken the existing perk and just had that without a limitation on what armor class you are. Armor perks can stack up to 3 times. Potent Alacrity increases the potency of all haste status effects on you by 9%. I like this because this means I don't have to run as much haste in my build. In like specifically my Great Axe Blunderbuss build, but I don't know how much use this is gonna get out of like specifically Speedy Gonzalez builds. Like, I don't know. Potent Energy decreases the potency of all exhaust status effects on you by 12%. I think this has potential, but I think it's just too specific to warrant putting on your armor. Anointed Potions. 3% increased healing from consumables. I don't see me using a slot on my armor for this unless other things are nerfed. Anointed Lifesteal, 4% increased healing from Lifesteal. I stand by what I just said. Open World PvP is getting an upgrade. Why wasn't this a part of the PvP server? Players flagged for PvP will now be able to place or bind to faction-only destructible camps. Hunt down and destroy enemy faction camps to remove your enemy's ability to respond close to the fight, creating a more strategic experience in influence races and open-world PvP combat. This is fantastic. I just wish that PvP servers existed. I'll start yapping about it. I just wish. Opt-in skipping pre-match phase is huge. I cannot overstate this at all. This right here saves lives. This leads to retention, especially if there's players in my company like Sukani, for example, and Lost Assassin that they'll do 3v3s for hours. So what I just heard is they could have easily another 5 to 10 matches in the same time. All about efficiency at that point. Spectator camera. When dying in 3v3 arenas and in expedition boss fights, players will now be able to spectate the remaining players. I think this is huge. Yeah, fantastic. This is absolutely huge. I think this will actually bridge the gap, especially like a new player who dies within 5 to 10 seconds of the match starting. Sorry, give me one moment. Mutated Expedition Reward Adjustment removed dual dependencies of raid and mutated expeditions and reduced the exorbitant crafting cost for the combo box. Smart. This allows players to obtain the damaged Gorgon needed from any endgame content they wish to pursue and reward them with another guaranteed 725 every week, with rare chances for additional 725s. Removed prismatic materials and mutated dust from mutated raid combo rewards box recipe, increased seeing cost and damaged Gorgon to 60 for granularity. So 60 damaged Gorgon 725s. Added 90 damaged Gorgonite per week loot limit. Removed Herkine Raid and Sandworm specific damaged Gorgonite loot limits. So I think this is actually pretty big because this means you have a way to get to pull people into doing additional Gorgon runs to help newer players learn. That's huge for one. Two, right, by doing 90 a week and a box cost 60, that means if I'm min-maxing my PvE, that means I'm getting 1.5 pieces every week. That means every other week I'm getting 2 725 pieces with the potential for more. So I think that's going to be pretty huge for PvE loops overall. Updated and curated perk pool for randomly rolled perks on these items. The focus on removing less desired perks to make the rolls on these items more desirable. I'd be curious to know if this is just more PvE oriented biasing, which I think is pretty smart to do. It's a PvE source. PvE sources should provide PvE gear. PvP sources should provide PvP gear. Ooh, okay. Actual patch notes. Combat General. Man, we're just now starting the patch notes. We are 40 minutes in. Increase base damage of the following weapons in PvE and then reduce their values to where they previously were in PvP. So I'm assuming this is a pretty neutral change. Blunderbuss being increased in PvE is huge. I mean, a lot of these changes aren't much. Flail. This just kind of proves my point that Flail is a really low damage weapon, but you know. I like the fact that they're calling this out. Blunderbuss and Fire Staff are incredibly powerful in PvP, and they need to be nerfed. Just flat out. Range fallout has been adjusted to compensate for some of these changes. It's been reduced. Starting damage fall off distance of the bow from 40 to 30 meters. I think this will matter for the bow users on in Worm especially, but we'll see. If this is just talking about PvP, then I think this is fantastic. Reduced the starting damage fall off distance of the musket from 50 to 40 meters, meaning they have to be closer. I think most good muskets are still already within the 20 to 30 meter range. Maybe 20 to 35 meter range. Chris, if you want to comment if you're here. If not, no worries. Reduced the max distance of the musket optimal range passive to trigger at 40 meters instead of 50. Increase the damage from 5. So they get a little bit of a damage boost, but they have to play within a smaller playing area. I think that's great. Reduce 100 con attribute bonus from 10% to 5%. Oof. I might have to actually run 200 con on my Blunderbuss Great Axe now. Updated free-for-all PvP zone to no longer allow players to enter Death's Door. I think that's probably smart, you know. Otherwise, people were just stealing kills, right? Fixed an issue where dying while switching weapons could put players in a bad state. Okay, that's good. Okay, so this is mostly just bug fixes. Let's see. Character jitter, auto running. Enter the world, still dead while exiting game mode. That's great because that's happened in Wars multiple times. For traversal abilities were not canceled when a cutscene was triggered. For moving block reactions that blend better with locomotion animations have a greater sense of impact. I'm curious to see what this feels like. People want to cope and be like, oh, it's not changing mechanic, but I mean, even when you made it so it said dodge, if somebody like dodged through your ability, right? That was just such a huge readability change that like more granularity like this. So knowing like, hey, what that person was doing led into that animation allows it makes it easier to actually read what the enemy is going to do, what the enemy is doing, and play off of that, and adds like more granular skill expression. So I'm excited to see what the animation looks like. Fix an issue where in some cases the player could continue fishing after entering combat. Okay. Melee attacks and structures would sometimes be treated as having a blocked line of sight and fail to do damage. This is huge. This is probably applying to kegs and B-Gate. Fix an animation issue with gauntlets and medium dodge. Okay. Fix an issue where status effect VFX. Massive fuck off. Poison. Fix an issue with status effect VFX such as haste, empower, disease, stun, bleed would sometimes not be in the correct location. What? Fix various photosensitivity issues with VFX. Fix an issue where if a piercing projectile hit very close to the muzzle, sometimes would not show. Fix an issue where ability cooldowns were still shown as counting down even after they were reset. That's huge. So there was a bug where Divine Embrace for example, was refreshing correctly mechanically, but on your bar it showed it's still having the cooldown. And if you knew that, like, good healers knew this and would play around it, but I'm hoping that's what that applies to. I also have had moments where I go to use an ability and it says that it's up and it doesn't work. Updated self-correcting follow camera to be enabled separately for keyboard and mouse gamepad. Defaulted to off for keyboard and mouse. It should be disabled to off, so I'm glad. It's updated so that the self-correcting follow camera is not active anymore while aiming a ranged weapon. Probably pretty smart. I had disabled this, so that's why it took me a second. Fix an issue where players could collide with other players in Death's Door. Oh, so now you just run through people in Death's Door? Okay. Fix an issue that prevented the powder keg from showing in the respawn screen if the player was killed by one. That's funny. Fix an issue that would sometimes cause a blocked animation to repeat. I don't really know what it means. Oh, I think it was like spam, like jitter. Oh, great. Jerk off emoji. Somebody's going to clip that. Perks. Okay. Increase the power for Malachite from 12 to 14% and increase other tiers respectively. Malachite was the base off CC one, but I think the problem here is it's still in power. So like only weapons that really use it don't really have too many slows, or they'll have like one stun, right? Malachite's only really powerful when it's a long-lasting CC effect. Onyx, increase the power from 18 to 20%, increase other tiers respectively. Onyx is how much damage do you do to somebody if they're over 70% HP. I'm personally an Onyx enjoyer on my hammer, but that might just be a me thing. Flame me if you'd like. Moonstone, slightly reduce the power of slash ward protection. Slash is an incredibly common damage type, so reduce the power of each tier by 0.25%. That's actually pretty huge, because that means if I'm running I mean, a couple people ran slash ward and they swore by it specifically because bleeds are reduced in damage type because of slash resistance. The jury's still out on whether this is gonna be pretty massive. Yeah, or like I was saying, bleed is connected to slash resistance. That was a change they made after the fact. So this kind of feels like they put the pipe in the front wheel of the bicycle, and then they were like, "Oh, who tripped me here?" I don't really know if this was necessary. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have the hatchet, the great sword, the sword, the I mean, do we have any other slashing weapons? Am I just blanking out on one of them? I said hatchet, great sword, sword. Uh, the rapiers flourish and finish, but like who uses that in PvP? Great axe. How could I forget great axe? Fair point. That's still like 4 weapons. I mean, out of 12, I guess, but like, I don't know if that's like the big bad we want to view it as. But to be fair, we don't get to see the damage types that people are receiving when we die. This is why a death recap would be great, because it's hard to really gauge whether this is really that big of a change. So I guess you kind of have to trust the cooks, I guess. General perks. Fix an issue where shield perks could remain active without a compatible weapon equipped. Interesting. We'll see if that's actually fixed. Keenly fortified. Increased power from 10 to 15% and duration from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, and reduce cooldown from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. If you don't make this like able to have 100% uptime in theory, like, what are you doing? Just flat out. Fractured Rend, increased power from 12% to 16% and duration from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. If I remember correctly, Fractured Rend is just if you break the block of a player. Like, this needs to be like a 25% rend before I care about if this is on my shield or on my armor or on my weapon, whatever it's on. I'm assuming weapon or shield, basically. Trenchant Rend, increased max duration from 12 to 14%, made it twice base duration. And reduced, so it goes, I think it was a 10-second call length to 20 seconds, maybe, but it might be a 5 to 10. I'm not sure. If somebody in the chat is in game, can let me know whether it lasts 10 seconds as it exists. Reduce the cooldown from 12 seconds to 10 seconds. I think this is exactly in the right direction if it's a 10 second thing. That being said, I hope that they fixed it, and people are going to hate the fact I'm revealing this. What you can do with Trenchant Rend is you can swap weapons and then swap them back, and then it essentially resets the cooldown on this anyways. So the cooldown doesn't really matter as much. But if they can fix that bug, I think this will be pretty powerful. Grit Ward reduced the power from 3% to 2.6% per piece. Grit Ward is already being beaten out by Enchanted Ward from the fact that it's up at all times. I don't know if this is the right direction. I think if anything, Grit Ward needed to be buffed personally, but maybe that's a hot take. We'll see. Disdained Infliction increased the cooldown from 1 second to 1.5 second. I think this is good. Disdained Infliction is so powerful, and my problem with perks like this and a lot of the perks in the perk pool is a lot of these are like passive power, where I wish they went more towards like every perk is an active mechanics change where you can visually see that, oh, I know that they have this exact piece on their gear because their one weapon per or one ability did this, or when they jumped this effect happened. Like those sorts of interactions I think would be more interesting than flat stat boosts. Desperate Empower added additional functionality that grants up to 10% haste while exhausted. If this also makes it so you don't get slowed down by exhaust, like what currently happens, then sure. But like it has to do that haste on top of that before I even remotely care about that. Hardcore Parkour updated description to be more clear. If it's the Hardcore Parkour from earlier, it was the haste boost on your feet, or on your specifically your footwear, like your shoes and whatnot. I don't think that piece is going to be that great for specifically war, but in open world and whatnot, I think it's going to be fantastic. Mortal Lifesteal allowed perk to roll on armor, but rebalanced value so they're lower on armor than they are on weapons. Added functionality that grants a small amount of lifesteal on hits, in addition to the existing health on kill functionality. I think this is great. In fact, I'm a big Mortal Lifesteal enjoyer on my Tempest Fury. I know I get flamed for it, but like that just means I got buffed. That's what I just heard. Mortal Energy allowed the perk to roll on armor, but rebalanced value so they're lower on armor than they are on weapons. Makes sense. I'm assuming same thing from Fortification, yeah, Power, yeah, and Refreshment. I think, and not depending on what the values are, Mortal Refreshment could be pretty nutty, where you have where I could imagine trying to run an Execute build, and I just go pure like damage with Mortal Refreshment, and I'm just trying to get it so that I can, if I kill you, it just immediately refreshes my Execute. Like, if it lets me live that power fantasy, I'm all for these changes. Vigor from 18% to 23% per stack. So, if we remember earlier, right, there was that stop, drop, and roll. Let's see, what was the percentage on that? Let's do drop. 25%. So, you really just need to hit 75% on this and then run that and you'd be chilling. So let's see. So with 23%, that means if I run 3 pieces of vigor and then I just dodge once, I shouldn't have any burns on me. So I mean, knowing that you can have the interaction with the perks and it's not just powerful by itself, I guess that's all right. I just wish they would reduce the amount of perks you can put on gear if that was the direction they were going to go. Stamina recovery. Reduce stamina gain from a max of 60 to a max of 40. Stamina recovery is already on the L trajectory. Like, I don't think many, if any, of our roles are recommending stamina recovery right now, except maybe healer. So I'm a big fan of this. I think people should get punished for running out of stamina, flat out. Fixed an issue for Disdained Infliction where the perk would not always increase and applied dots potency. So it sounds like they're making it more powerful, and it makes me question if the only reason they're nerfing it is because they feel like this would be a step in the wrong direction and they're okay with how powerful it is now. We'll see. Alright, weapon mastery perks. Leeching Flurry. Reduce max values from 33 and 60 to 2645. This feels like a nerf in PvE's direction more than PvP's direction. I don't know anybody who's like really trying to use Leeching Flurry in PvP seriously in any like competent sense. Enfeebling Poison Shot increased weakened duration from 6 seconds to 8 seconds. I mean, the fact that this only works on the shot and not the cloud is the problem. If this made it so if the weaken was by default on the shot and this made it on the cloud, I would care about this weapon perk. But as it sits right now, I still don't care. Enfeebling Skewer going from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. I think that's pretty huge for PvP in like small scale, but like large scale, this wasn't getting used anyways. This really matters, I would say, in PvE, but even then, with the way spear cooldowns work anyways, you always have the Enfeebling Skewer going, so I don't know. I see this more value having more value in PvP, so like you're affecting less people than anything. Leeching Cyclone reduced max value on a weapon from 65 to 58. It's a 7% difference, but I mean with all the other things you have with Spear and can build on the kit, I can understand like not having as much of a power budget, especially with some of the potency. Like you could just run lifesteal potency if you really cared about this. So and I still wouldn't run that, to be clear. I'm just saying, like, they are giving you ways to kind of get that power back and give up other parts of your power budget. Lasting range of arrows. Added additional functionality that increased damage while further than 20 meters away. This is huge. I already love the concept of having bows that are looking in when I'm calling a crash and hitting their rain of arrows on my crash. So like rewarding that and making it so it's not nearly as powerful in the closer range. I'd actually want this to go further. Like I would say cut the damage in half as it sits right now if the target's within 20 meters, and then if I hit somebody outside of 20 meters, double what the current damage is right now. So it's like a 4 times hit. Like that would be valuable to me as a like macro calling perspective. Deadly Flourish added additional functionality that caused the next hit to be a guaranteed crit. Okay. I mean, this just makes it so your burst window is larger and you don't have to get the full 3 stacks. I can only see this being good for that specific. Like nobody uses that in PvP. So from a PvP player perspective, I don't really care as much about this. This could bring it into play though. We'll see. Voracious Blade reduced the lifesteal from 35.55 to 28.44. Thank you, Daddy Bezos. Thank you, Mommy Lane.
Thank God.
Holy shit. There are so many. Everybody's heard the horror story. You run into that healer who places the sacred, the beacon, and then they swap to Void Golem, and then they just left click, right? And you're like, oh, you could just run away from them. They still had so much healing from the Void Gauntlet, Void Blade, that it didn't really matter. I think this is really a step in the right direction for sure. ATBs reduced the dot duration extension for the 150 dex attribute threshold from 15 to 10%. Thank goodness. Reduced the dot duration extension for the 250 int attribute threshold from 30% to 20%. So what I'm hearing here, right, is this is to make up to the nerf that Deadly Flourish takes from the reduction in length of these dots, right? While also reducing the absolute cancer plague that has been all of the different dots that people get stacked with. Like, Cleanse Pots and OPR's biggest benefit right now is the fact that it can stop all these dots from ticking on you. If I had $1 for every time I walked away in a fight with 4k HP and died because I had 8 different dots for 10 plus seconds on me, oh man, no, this is great. Oh man, it's happening, boys. It's happening. Illegal perk combos. Named items with illegal perk combinations have received some balance changes due to perk combinations being so strong that it makes it hard for other items to compete. Frigid Dawn set and Dune Uplantula footwear reduce the efficacy of Enchanted Ward and Elemental Aversion perks on these items by 15%. Thank you. The fact that there were 700 gear score items that were outcompeting 725 pieces was absolutely criminal. What this is probably going to lead to is people replacing this with double conditioning or a utility perk instead and just taking the durability hit. I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm very happy with this change. Serenity and Venom catching some shade, but honestly, Serenity getting nerfed is huge here because if I had $1 for every time I literally just default shred any of my great swords because it's like, why would I use any of them if I have Serenity? Grace is interesting with the speed boost, but that's an artifact. Why would I'm talking about like regular, like make me be happy about getting greatsword drops. So I'm happy about that. The Venom artifact change, I don't know. I think it was a little net needed. The people who actually knew how to really abuse that, it hurt. It just hurt. But like, I don't think it was like meta changing enough that it needed to catch shade. It should at least have been buffed in a different way, in my opinion. Mechanics consumables was shared. Cooldown categories have been updated. Previously, all cooldowns went on. All consumables went on cooldown of the item that was used, which resulted in items going on longer or shorter cooldowns than intended. Now, when a player uses a consumable with a shared cooldown category, all other items in that category will go on 80% of their base cooldown. So this is huge to me because, and we'll go into this in a second. The 20% cooldown reduction for shared cooldown categories does not stack with any other cooldown reduction source. So, for example, regen serums, I've been big on saying regen potions are better than regen serums. Why I say that is because of uptime. You can keep it up for 15 seconds with a 20-second cooldown, 75% uptime. That's absolutely game changing. Whereas regen pots were 30 seconds before. Ew. Now they're making it so these are 25-second duration. This is just further winning my argument, in my opinion. Increase the cooldown to 40 seconds, though. That means 15 seconds downtime. You're looking at not even a 66% uptime on the healing here. So like this is I'm okay playing like an absolute pussy for 15 seconds as long as I have 25 seconds of absolute strength. Increase the healing values to account for the duration changes in the shared cooldown functionality and reduce adjustments. From 300 to now 400 a tick. From 0.8 to 1.1%. So basically it's a regen potion but with not nearly the uptime. The concern I have though is like stamina. So like while the stamina you're regenning is nice and all, especially over 25 seconds, it's a pretty long time to be regenning stamina. Alfredo, I see you're in the chat. How much is each tick of stamina regen on a regen serum right now?
3.
So if it's 3 every second and it now lasts 25 seconds, that's 75 stamina you're getting. I don't know. I think this is still a coin flip. I'm still regen pot enjoyer from this for sure. Just off the uptime alone. Like 15 seconds of downtime is huge. Now, if I can pop this and then my regen potions are only a 20-second cooldown or 18, well, they said 20% cooldown reduction, so really 16 or so. Then I could see me using these two and just not having health pots on my bar at all. But otherwise, if I have to pick between a serum and a potion, I'm picking the potion.
Yeah, 3 for 20 seconds, by the way.
3 for 20 seconds, yeah. So, like, it's just a 5 seconds increase, and, like, the cooldown right now is 30 seconds. Like, the 5 seconds extra duration for another 10 seconds of cooldown. If it isn't working the way I just described, where I could just have these both on the same bar, then I'm not really using this. Where I might, because, like, if I can have them on the bar and I can pop a regen serum, and then my potions are 16, and my regen potion is 16 seconds, and then I pop the regen potion, and then I have to get out of combat and let my regen serum completely cool down before I can use it, then, you know, I may look at that. I may be interested in that. But if this is 40 seconds for both my potions, then I'm not doing that. Consumables. Desert Sunrise being 25%. This is huge. So with this being 25% and then Vigor being 23%, that means if I'm running 2 pieces of Vigor, this, stop, drop, and roll, I'm done. I don't even need 3 pieces anymore. I just need 2 of these. Stop, drop, and roll, and a Desert Sunrise. And I don't care about dots. That makes Vigor have actual potential. It makes items like Jin's head wrap look like it has potential. We'll see. The jury's still out, though. Just the fact, though, that you can hit 100% invigorated, to me, would be huge as a point tank. Because I don't care about dots. I don't care about dots damage because I have a huge health pool. I care about what is my resistance. If you can't rend me and you can't plague me, bro, sign me the fuck up. Or you can't disease me either? Like, that would be huge. But, like, to be clear, like, Desert Sunrise applies to dots. So I can see this mattering more for, like, light armor players. Fix an issue where consuming Mount Vittles will remove various other consumable effects from self. Okay, who's still consuming Mount Vittles in this day and age? The name is Fishing for Deer. Fixed an issue where the artisan flatbread had a short duration. Good. Fixed an issue with some consumables visually showing the quantity as infinity after playing in the arena mode. I wish consumables were just infinite. Updated consumables to cancel interactions such as laying in a bed or petting an animal. Okay. Mechanics. Ooh. The wall getting further nerfed. Big fan. Huge fan, in fact. Added additional functionality that it slightly reduces stamina regen rate by 10% while equipped. Chromatic Ward perk. Updated so now has 13% elemental damage reduction and 10% elemental armor. I don't think this is going to matter with all the fortifies you usually have as a tank. So this is basically just a 10% elemental fortify. That's all this is. That's how they should have framed this as well. The fact that this got cut in half, I think is great for variety in tanking. Makes it so like you don't only have to tank with a shield, for example. Meta chasers, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about those of us who enjoyed the game for the game. The reduction in stamina regen, I think, is pretty huge too. It also makes perks like Sturdy Energy be more interesting to me, flat out. Butcher, reduce power from 33% to 25%. I think this is huge. Like, I know tanks were using it to try and stack the, or to abuse the fact that like certain dot effects would lengthen the effect of certain abilities, or they would chain, or they would chain that with to get your heart rune charge up. So reducing the power of that kind of reduces that. Like if you're a tank, you should not be able to quickly get heart rune charge, in my opinion, off of damage. Survivor's Coat, reduce stamina gain from 50 to 20. My first question is, who's using Survivor's Coat before I care about what the effects are here? Inferno. Fix an issue where conversion gems could be slotted into Inferno even though they are not functional. Players can no longer slot non-functional conversion gems into Inferno. Existing non-functional conversion gems can be replaced. I wish they would just replace it, allow these to work. I don't know why you would disable these. Fix an issue where Burninator was not applying on heavy attack hits when the Flare passive unlocked. The fact that this is going to proc Burninator in the Flare, I already see Burninator, AoE, Plague Gem in the Burninator, just half-heavying. Just half-heavying. Like, I see that being a credible slot on the perk. Plus the backdraft. Where's Sukani, bro? Sukani's going to love that shit. No, he won't. He prefers higher skill gameplay before he flames me. But backdraft, he's a huge enjoyer on. Updated the heavy burden... the heavy burden shrapnel shot and inner power artifact perks to be more clear that they work on both weapons. That is huge here. That is absolutely huge, as it should show. These are just perks that either like they're just flat stat boosts basically. Everybody benefits from clearer language in their perks. Heart Gems, Dark Ascent, increase the amount of iframes, during the Ascent startup from 15 to 30. So you get a full second of iframes. I, as a shot caller, am now looking at Dark Ascent as a weapon perk, unironically. Imagine you're in the middle of a clump, you're getting detonated, there's no other way you live, and you Dark Ascent, everybody explodes below you as you then shoot downwards and stagger them. In a 4-meter range, too. Please. Yeah, I might actually start using Dark Ascent as a shot caller. Devour. Added grit to the startup of the attack. 7 iframes. Okay. And to the first few frames of casting it. I think this makes it plausible to use the Devour that's kind of a mini Gravwell. It just needs a stronger suction effect. Yeah, and yes, that's what she said. Primal Fury. Increase base damage of the weapon by 15%. Decrease the weaken inflicted on self from 20% to 15% on the extended coat perk. That's pretty smart in my opinion. Like the fact that there's a weaken at all is kind of weird. Decreases the armor reduction from 20 to 15%. I mean, when you have a weapon, when you have a heart rune and you want to be able to use it in like a clump with the effect of this, like why are you punishing them for doing it? I don't know. Adjusted Primal Fury's velocity while jumping to not grant additional translation in some circumstances. I think this is an L take. I think you should get those benefits. Fix an issue where heart runes were not shown in dense combat scenarios. I hope this benefits wars specifically, so it's easier to see detonates when they happen. Alright, damn. We still got like a third of these passions. I'm going to start being a little bit quicker here. Rapier, omnidirectional evade perk. Reduce max value from 20 to 14%. This is huge, massive, large, in charge. Screw Rapier's dominance in PvE, just flat out. Evade crescendo upgrade. Reduced from 30% to 25%. Let's go. Momentum ultimate. Reduced from 30% to 25%. So I'm hearing a 10, 16% nerf on damage to Rapier in PvE. Make PvE variety great again. Fantastic. Fix an issue where Riposte would not activate if a player had an effect on them that increased absorption. What? Fix an issue where the heavy attack tooltip in the mastery menu showed the incorrect weapon damage percent. Okay. That doesn't really matter. Sword and Shield, one with the shield passive, round shield benefit added a 1 second cooldown to prevent it from being triggered rapidly, allowing infinite duration extensions. I don't know. I don't think this is something that needed to be nerfed, but I'd love to see the data that made them think this should be nerfed. Fix an issue where the player would not turn properly when activating Leaping Strike in a different direction than the character was originally facing. I guess it's meaning like if I'm casting my ability this way, but I'm looking this way, and I would just like look like I'm going this way, but I don't know. That's really weirdly worded. It'd be nice if they showed like the examples for what right looked like and what right and what wrong looked like. Ice Gauntlet. Fix an issue with Ice Gauntlet's wind chill ability. Knock down targets further away than intended. Oh, I guess it pushed them further away? Okay. Fix an issue where players could use target lock to lock onto their own ice pylons inside of the free-for-all zone. That's funny. Updated it so that Ice Gauntlet's skill Entombed would not be counted as a participant in the world encounters. What? Okay. Flail updated the size of the VFX for Arcane Eruption's first hit to better match the size of the hitbox. That's great because I have no idea how far that hits. Sometimes it hits super far, sometimes it doesn't. I don't care about a typo. Blunderbuss, run and gun, shorten haste duration to better match the reload time. Okay. I guess the thought here is it's only supposed to Hey. Okay, this is still going to be huge for like the build I run, but sure. We already went over Charm Gear nerfs. I already explained what would be replacing them. Double conditionings on 725 gear, simply put. You increase in armor plus the conditionings, being able to do a variety of them. You're going to be big chilling there, Poison. Musket. Fix an issue where musket traps sometimes would play hit effects when they didn't hit a target. I like readability changes. Fix an issue where the sticky bomb and trap throw animations were not playing properly while idle. Okay. Fix an issue. Sticky bomb wouldn't deal damage if stuck to enemies' heads in buildings with low ceilings. That's funny, I guess, but very fringe. Fix an issue where the powder burn. This tells me that a lot of these changes are telling me that when people were getting hit, it just counted as them getting hit, not where they got hit. And that interests me for just a cosmetic perspective. Imagining executions that take into account where you hit somebody with your final hit would be hilarious. But also from a technical perspective of, hey, having certain abilities hit harder on certain parts of your body, I think would be pretty neat. Void Gauntlet, Void Blade, reduce Void Blade heavy attack translation. Thank God, this thing was going so far. You could literally like outrun people with it if you did it right. Fix an issue that would cause jump to repeat when using Harvest Essence. Okay. Fix an issue where Tethered Refresh didn't reduce the cooldowns of Orb Decay or Essence Rupture. Interesting. So with the Tethered Refresh proccing reducing the cooldown of Essence Rupture specifically, maybe, but I still don't see that changing anything massive. Fire Staff. Reduce Staff's base damage in PvP by 3%. Fantastic. Fix an issue where Flamethrower would go on cooldown if hit with an attack that would stagger while Stoneform is active. I think they should have kept that. I'm going to be honest with you. Fix an issue where Meteor Shower would sometimes not have the VFX appear. I wonder if that caused all the missing damage. Greatsword. Fix an issue where killing certain enemies with an upgraded Roaring Rupture would play the wrong animation. Okay. Life Staff. Updated target lock to only lock on enemies, not allies, when aiming throwable items while Life Staff is equipped. Thank God for PvE, I guess. BNB, rejoice. Fix an exploit that allowed players to heal group members using Life Staff who were out of line of sight. Interesting to know that there was an exploit for that. Alright, we're into game modes now. OPR gates, only allowing one person to repair them at a time. Huge. Updated OPR gates to have 2 intractable points. Center interact, used for entering and exiting only. New interact, only accessible from the inside, set to the right of the center that will allow for repairing and upgrading. This is huge because if I'm inside the fort, there would be times where people would jump on the outside to then repair it. Updated Coral Divide based on second preview testing. Fixed multiple instances of floating grass. Who cares? Issue with player attacks that were incorrectly show corrupted fee effects in the tunnels in Coral Divide. Okay. Fix an issue where melee attacking the outpost gates in Coral Divide would pull players towards the center of the gate. Okay. Decrease OPR keg interaction to set fuse from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. I think this is pretty huge in my opinion. But like it still takes 14 seconds for them to go off. So I mean we'll see. Updated collision for burning oil vats to improve hit detection. Okay. Remove resource costs for building bulwarks. Fantastic. Players are now granting 50... Yeah, we already went over that. Updated OPR repeater turrets to allow them to be able to rotate beyond 180 degrees. Big fan. Fix an issue where the outpost, rush, storage shed interact prompts would show up in the wrong location. Okay. Fix an issue where the placement position for powder kegs would not correctly update height when moving. Okay, updated the functionality to summon Brute to no longer regenerate health when retreating from combat. I think this is pretty good. If they buff the Brute, in my opinion. Fixed an issue where the summon Brute would sometimes follow a player indefinitely and fail to retreat. That's hilarious. Updated capture point colors to improve visibility of weapon abilities. Neat. Fixed an issue where the command post would spawn on top of players after applying all resources. Okay. Fix an issue where withered regurgitators and outpost rush were partially transparent. Neat. PvP arenas. Updated the deserter penalties in 3v3 arenas so that players no longer receive a penalty if they are the only one to join by the time the match starts. Fantastic. Fix an issue where Phoenix Artifact could trigger after a round ends and leave a player dead for the next round. Okay. Added a 30-second AFK kick timer during arena rounds. Fantastic. Fixed an issue where the spectator box in the original 3v3 map didn't have camera collision. Updated arena maps to rotate on an hourly cadence. Fantastic change there, but we already talked about that. I don't care about World and Quest. Let's see, anything good? Fix for Broodmother VFX being called out. That's good. Fix for flickering. Fix another flickering VFX issue. Sweet. I don't care about the artifacts players competing in the Trial of Champions. Sometimes I receive the trophy when defeating. Okay. Fix an issue where logging in and out during an instant puzzle quest could prevent the puzzle from properly restarting. Fix an issue. I mean, nothing here is like super. Oh, it's fix an issue where sleep spores were not looping. Fix an issue where Sadvik was sometimes... I mean, I see a couple of these changes that are good. But, like, nothing really game-changing. Expeditions... I think I'm gonna cover the things that matter. So like Hive of Gorgon, for example, the trail of ooze left behind during the charge attack could kill a player when they were in death's door. That being fixed is good. Fix an issue where active fungal infections would not do damage. Good. Oh man, we loved this. We would have it so they would spawn on the arc on the outside. I guess that won't be happening anymore. Fix an issue with VFX during Echidna's raid encounter. That's good. Change the color of Broodmother's sleep effects. That's probably smart. It was always really hard to see the effects. Updated Typhon to no longer be able to use Rising Thorns and Hungry Howl back to back to avoid VFX marker overlap. Okay. Trail of the Devourer. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think anybody who wants to read these can read them themselves. AI changes, I don't really care about either. All right, social. Fixed initiatives to platform friends are now able to accept invitations to a raid via platform. Oh, okay. Neat. Fixed an issue. I don't care about that. That's for like Xbox and PlayStation. Which have be delayed after exiting a duel. Button shortcuts. Area chat would sometimes appear multiple times to players. That's pretty huge. Fixed an issue where PC players' platform icons would be incorrect after viewing a console player's social window. Issue prevented shout button in the ping window from working on default controller. But I get to see the shout button work for the ping menu, so I'd love to know if somebody's gotten that to work in a raid. Fix an issue that would cause the emotes that move the character forward to set her for a frame. Fix an issue. I don't care about any of those. Perk availability updates. All weapon skill perks are now also a possible roll on loot items from all locations. Added the new perks as possible rolls for all items. Great. Enchanted Ward Health and Hardcore Parkour have been added to possible rolls for event items. Neat. Don't care. Perks. Empowering Breaker. Mortal Pop. Oh, neat. So none of the mortal perks. Trenchant crits, trenchant rend, trenchant recovery, thwarting counter, thwarting strikes, empowering breaker, and desperate prayer can roll on sandworm or gorgon gear. Holy shit! Faction shop refresh added Gorgonite Inductor to the faction shop. Let's go, baby! Data the following: fishing, salvage, arcana ingredients at tier 5, allowing there to be. Oh look, items to be used. Let's go! Nice. Fixed. Pet rabbit. Dropped out of bag can persist on the ground even after emptying its contents. I'm just reading through these really quickly, see if anything's actually worth a damn. Yeah, nothing worth a damn. Let's see. UX UI, fixed virtual. Dated map icon. Nothing here is really great. Fixed armory, faction armory unit prices. I'm curious to see what that means. Updated the war scoreboard to allow sorting by assists in addition to kills. I think that's smart. Yeah, nothing too great here. Ooh, this should be pretty huge especially for those of us with like great hardware. DX12 is now the default renderer for PC, so I would say let's just go into this patch with an open mind. Expect to crash probably at least once. It's okay. Hope that it doesn't happen at Gorgon or right before you kill the worm or something. But ultimately, when things like this happen, they need to happen. But if you're having issues, you could just put dash DX11 and wait until you hear that people are not crashing, I guess. But this is... I mean, fixing various rendering issues that could lead to crashes or soft locks in which the video card registers as device removed when we're running on a PC. I mean, there's some massive changes. It's supporting NVIDIA DLSS 4 is pretty huge. Reflect low latency is pretty huge. I hope to be able to get to sub 10 ms now. That'd be fantastic. I'm excited to see the difference in game quality, just flat out. Oh, look at this. If you've ever died being over multiple loot bags, this is the general fix for you. We've had the servers crash a couple times, so I'm assuming that's what they're referring to here. The camera gets stuck in store state. This was annoying. There was only specific menus that would actually fix this. If you have ever had to clear a portal for some sort of quest or something, and you go somewhere and there isn't a portal, I guess this is for you. I'm hoping this benefits Wars right here. Fix an issue where some particle effects in the particle system memory management failed to render over the course of a heavy combat scenario. I don't care about the blurry appearance of eyebrows. Okay. So yeah, hey, we just got through all the patch notes. It only took me about an hour 26 minutes. No big deal here. We still have the capture the flag video to go over. But honestly, I'm pretty excited for Season 8. I saw a lot of changes here that are going to be positive for us as a community. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, bell, bros, whatever the fuck you want to say. If you want to see any updates like this in a video format. And then also, those of you in the company who are watching and have somehow sat here for 2 hours listening to me yap nonstop, now you can point people towards a breakdown of it that they can watch at 1.5 times speed. If you want. Or just answer the TLDRs that they asked for. The biggest things for me personally that I saw from this is the fact that they're already showing capture the flag literally this first weekend after the patch is such a smart move by Amazon. The fact that there's only 2 makes me question it though. There better be more than just 2 weekends. 2, the additional perks that they're adding, fantastic. The buffs they're adding to perks like Vigor, fantastic. The changes that they're making when it comes to... Let's scroll up here. Oh, where was it? I don't really care about, like I said, as a PvP player, I don't really care at all about the hardcore server. I like the bare bones OPR concept. The world bosses, I'll care. Well, the fact that it's 715 to 725, a lot of gear is going to be useless, is what I heard. If the fact that each event grants 1 guaranteed 725, now there's a reason to do it. I just wish they did this with the PvP server. Artifacts wise, I think looking at them, I'm looking forward to Chaos. I'm looking forward to the shield. I'm looking forward to the sword. Looking forward to the crown from a PvE perspective. I think the boots aren't going to be used. I don't think the chest is going to be used, and I don't think the hands are going to be used. We don't care really much about the survival potions outside of maybe the shield potion. The target locks are a huge W for Amazon. I know quite a few friends who said they would not play until target lock got nerfed or flat out removed. New gems are great. Like overall, I think this is a pretty W patch as long as it comes out and there isn't some sort of dupe or something. I think a lot of the changes, like you could kind of see the logic without having to have a broken down. This is why we changed things for people who actually cared about it, and some of the bugs I actually care about having been fixed. So that feels great. So yeah, W patch from Amazon, provided that this is actually what we see tomorrow. No pressure, Amazon. No pressure. But yeah, take it easy.